Welcome everyone to the IPBA Season 12 Main League Draft Podcast. Another season, another draft podcast. We're just gonna go in order of the drafts here on the doc, in order of the tabs, and talk about each draft. And then at the end, I think we'll go over our rankings overall. Like 1 to 16 rankings. And I am joined by Elliot and Omega for this podcast.
Hey.
What's up?
And I guess we'll just get started. So the first person is Ruppy, and unfortunately, I think he probably,
Should we give the positives first, or?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, positives first.
Positives?
Yeah, I've got
I don't like much about this draft, I'm gonna be honest.
Go ahead, Elliot.
I think he's got like semi-good vault turn. I think Incineroar, Victini, although Incineroar's quite redundant.
Yeah, but Galvantula kind of sucks.
Galvantula's not great, but I still think it's like a good fast vault turn.
I do like the fact that Mega Pidgeot, Victini, and Kartana cover each other really well, and it'll hit pretty much most of everything in the game.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess.
But
I don't really like his offense in general, though, because he's got, like, I don't know, Victini, Kartana, Mimikyu are all kind of similar speed tiers, and
I don't like Mimikyu. I really don't like Mimikyu.
I don't like it on this team.
I think Kartana and Victini are cool, but I just don't think Mimikyu benefits him at all.
Mm-hmm.
Webs are cool, but it's just the rest of his team is just so lackluster.
His ground.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the most important thing to know, or that I see about this team, is that he's got, I believe, 5 rocks weaknesses, and he's got only one, like, really viable remover, which is Donphan, which, I mean, it's a fine remover, but when you have 5 rocks weaknesses, you really need better hazard removal than that.
Yeah.
Really, really need better hazard removal.
He's just gonna get destroyed by rocks.
Yeah. And
I
mean,
think ground is, like, Edgequake in general is just gonna fucking...
Yeah, Edgequake. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Torterra.
Yeah, Torterra is his Edgequake answer, I guess.
When he's forced to run Sticky Web, but then he doesn't support his hazard removal options, he's just gonna get out momentumed, even though he has good like U-turn, volt turn.
Yeah. One thing I will say though, I think he does have good setup from like SD Kartana or SD Mimikyu, work up Pidgeot, Licky can run some bulky SD set. I think he does have good setup, which could be cool with Webs.
Burn said good speed. I don't necessarily agree. He has some speed, but his high is only 122, I believe, with Mega Pidgeot. And then his speed's just kind of clustered on the high end. Like, he's got 100, 109, and then Galvantula is 108.
He's got bigger things to worry about.
So it's pretty clustered.
I think his speed tiers are good. I think 108 and 109 is a bit redundant. Maybe he could have got like a 105, 110, then 121. But I think his speed tiers are fine, personally. But clustered speed tiers could be, I guess, a problem.
Yeah. And then, like, his wall core is just very weird and not good.
It's weak to grass.
Yeah.
It's just weak to grass.
It's like Milo, and like he's not gonna bring Licky every game.
No, I think Licky is a good low tier threat though, personally.
Yeah, but you can't reliably stop many of these like powerful Pokemon up and.
Yeah, it doesn't really do much, like really. I don't think.
And I just think
anything, and it's passive too. So.
Yeah. I gave it a 5.
I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 3. 3 out of 10. I honestly don't like much about this draft. I guess his pivots is probably his strong point, but I don't even think that's all that great.
You don't really have great wall breakers.
Yeah.
K-Rank,
well, his power's alright.
Kind of.
Victini kind of, yeah.
Kartana a little bit, but it has lackluster coverage.
I think Kartana just gets walled by the
it gets lackluster coverage, but it is covered well with Pidgeot.
Yeah.
But it's not enough. That's not enough for a consistent draft every week to week.
Yeah.
You're gonna build your team.
Okay. Well, let's move on to Peter's draft. Who wants to start with Peter? So it's a little bit more hyper offense. He kind of has the same problem I see with Ruppy, which is that he doesn't really have any good hazard removal, and he has 3 Pokemon weak to rocks,
Oh, his
especially
hazard removal
Darmanitan
way
and
worse.
Weevil, which are like 2 big. Darmanitan, Thunty, and Darmanitan, or Weevil, Thunty, and Darmanitan are like 2 major rocks weaknesses, and he really doesn't have good removal at all.
Those are his
It's-
main offense too.
Yeah,
It's the main offense.
His removal's terrible. Like Ruppy
Yeah.
at least has Dom Fan.
That's a huge.
I mean, yeah, it's a huge. That's like a huge problem. Even more so than Ruppy, I'd say, because Ruppy at least has 1 removal.
Yeah.
Peter has such a huge rocks weakness, and he has 0 removal
He has
practically.
Flygon. Like
Yeah, I mean
he's-
that's not removal.
yeah.
I also think he suffers from either 100 or over Scarfer, or something that just sets up Dragon Dance or Agility, and then it just runs through his team. He doesn't have any and
Well,
Sweeper will just throw a fire move for Ferrothorn, and then it'll just burst through the rest of his team.
Yeah.
I see that to some extent. I think Sunday T Scarf's probably gonna be forced a lot.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do like his speed. His speed's actually like some of the best in the whole draft. But
Yeah.
The hazards
Yeah.
issue, and then obviously, yeah, he just has very, very limited defensive options, so he is susceptible to being swept because he also doesn't have elite speed, like Jack and Straff, for example, which is also
Burn
hyper
also
offense.
said his walls lack recovery, and I agree.
I think that's fine in the hyper offense team. I
Yeah,
think that's completely fine.
it is less needed on this kind of team, but without having a good Scarfer to support yourself with hazard removal, like if you want to Scarf on ET to beat those Scarfers, like I said earlier, you don't want to take rocks damage all the time.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah, I mean-
he has good priority, I guess, which does somewhat help as well.
And I do like Weevil and Alakazam on the same team.
Yeah, Weevil Alakazam is nice. The only other thing is that he also has 4 times weaknesses, which is a little bit more than ideal.
That's kind of fine because this is hyper offense. But,
yeah. But again, I don't really see it.
Yeah.
I think if his opponent just brings like Suicide Rocks, then it's gonna be really hard for Peter to win.
Yeah. I think his wall breaking is pretty good as well in my opinion. Darmanitan, Thundy T, Mega
It's really good. It's really good. Yeah.
I liked it a lot better than Rupees.
But if you don't get rid of the rocks, Darmanitan only clicks Flare Blitz like twice.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It.
But he still gets at least 1 kill normally.
Yeah. And I remember I told him to get Embor, and I still stand by that.
Embor, yeah, I remember saying that to him.
Embor
would have been better. I still like his draft, but it's on the lower end for me, even though I gave it a good score.
I would definitely put it top half still. I gave it 7 out of 10.
Really? I think the rocks is a huge issue, and then the wall core. I gave it a 7.5. I mean, the offense is still really good. The speed is probably the best of all the drafts, but definitely has some more major issues.
I get everybody a good score though, so even though he's on the lower end, it's still 7.5.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to Josh.
This is my favorite team, I think.
Yeah.
This is my favorite team also.
I disagree, but you guys go first and tell me why you like it.
It definitely has problems though. I will say
Go
that.
ahead, Elliot.
I think that his Volt turn's really good. Greninja, Rotom, Staraptor. Although they are all weak to rocks, and I think Gliscor's going to be over relied on. It always has Formula Syndrome, and especially on this team, it's been like it really is the only like amazing rocker on his team that's always going to be there for rocks, and it's only like really, really good defogger. I think he's just going to be over relied on Gliscor, and I think since his Voltron core is pretty weak to rocks, I think he's going to struggle with that. But other than that, I don't really see anything wrong with it. He's got like great wall breakers. He's got good speed. Like I think another monitor base on 100 could have helped.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about his speed. I mean, he's got 100, 110, and 122. But in my opinion, Greninja and Gengar fill similar roles most weeks, which is just kind of a special like revenge killer, or maybe a cleaner late game. So even though he has like those 2 things as fast as Pokemon, they kind of do similar roles, so it's problematic.
Josh, do you want to say something?
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, I think my team's pretty good, but I still don't.
I think Greninja can do way more than just a special revenge.
Yeah, sure it
healer.
can, but that's his most common role.
Yeah, I think Gengar and Greninja, like, since this is only based on what Monzo are based on 100, they could get quite similar.
Yeah.
And
Greninja's a lot better than that.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But I
There's
mean,
a
but he
lot.
needs to use Greninja's speed though, because that's all he has.
Yeah,
No.
He can't just use it as hazards, you know.
Yeah, again.
I don't know if you know
He's got
how
the
I play.
offense to back it up.
I think, yeah.
I think Webbs could have been nice in this team.
I
Yeah,
also think
Webbs would've been
Slowking's
nice.
a really good pick for me.
Oh, I love Slowking. I love Slowking.
He also
I
just
love,
doesn't. He doesn't have any special power either. He's got some good physical power.
He's got Gengar.
Gengar's borderline power.
No.
He's got Como, which is.
He doesn't have a special wall breaker.
I did the calculate.
I think Gengar
And then
hits hard.
the other thing I have a problem with is I think he's pretty knockoff weak. Especially if Gliscor hasn't
agree.
gotten its
but I
toxic
also
orb
think-
yet off.
I think I'm knockoff weak, but I also think Kamau is a pretty free knockoff resist.
Yeah, sure.
It's
But
also Gliscor with like the toxic already
Gliscor,
activated.
after I've got the toxic orb off, and so's Morwell. I have 3 good knockoff resists. I just have a knockoff weakness on the other things.
Yeah.
I think the knockoff weakness is somewhat prevalent, but I think mid game it's not a problem since you probably have Gliscor.
Early game it is.
But early game it's going to be a problem, I think. Yeah.
This is the
Everything's
type
gonna
of
work
team
with
that I really love Porygon 2 on. Also.
Yeah.
I love P2.
Yeah.
P2. I generally, obviously I know how good P2 is, but I've never used it before. And
I love it on your team.
And
It's really good.
I played Mike in a 6v6 bottom 6 mons, and I generally nearly 1v5'd him because he couldn't kill it.
It is so bulky.
It's so bulky, and it's not even weak. It literally.
You could be
It's
offensive
105 special attack. It's really good.
Yeah.
Trick Room user as well.
because you can use Trick Room with Mawile too.
Trick Room
Yeah.
with Mawile amazing.
Yeah, I have double Trick Room ones, which
Yeah.
power
And
pretty well.
Slowking. And Claydol.
Yeah,
I think
triple Room.
And you can go fast too if you wanted. You can set up hazards. You can you turn out with Greninja. You can go set up with Como.
I just think for me and how I play, Kamau should be the MVP because
Yeah, I like it.
I'm a free player, and if I get the chance to set up a Dragon Dance or maybe what's the Autotomize or something from special or something, I think I normally maximize the opportunity.
yeah. And then the last thing is just that he has no clerics, which isn't a super big problem on his team, but I mean,
Yeah.
definitely would rather have a
I
cleric.
think Cleric with Gliscor's anti-synergy as well. But I guess because
Yeah.
you have so many walls like Slowking and Porygon 2, which normally...
Yeah, it is a bit annoying, but I also think it's almost I can't.
It's a little ding. Yeah. It's a little
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, the speed thing, the special power,
I don't
knockoff
think
weak.
my speed is that much fun.
I don't think. I mean, I think if like instead of Gengar, it was like a physically attacking Pokemon, I think it would be less of an issue.
But then he would have
Less. How would that be less of an issue?
Because I just think that like some weeks you aren't gonna be bringing both Greninja and Gengar because they fill similar roles.
They don't fit. You don't know how. You're
I don't agree with that.
This.
But yeah,
They don't always fill the same role, but a lot of times they will, and a lot of times you won't need both of them on the same team, so you're only gonna have one thing over base 100.
But a lot of times I can bring them both.
Yeah, but then it's kind of like you're wasting a slot on your offense because it's like some.
I mean, Greninja could be physical too.
Yeah,
can be, but it's not that great.
I think you've also the fact I got Staraptor somehow as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
Winston should have drafted.
Anyway, we need to move on.
Should have drafted. Should have got a Zelf. Zelf would have been better.
I think I'm blowing it to an 8. Sorry, Grosh.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 as well.
I gave it an 8.5, and it's my number 1 ranked team.
Yeah, I definitely. I don't think it's number 1. Okay. On to Jackin's team. So Jackin's also got hyper offense, just like Peter. But I think the problems that Peter has, Jackin doesn't have. He doesn't have a rocks weakness. And he's got like really upper tier speed, so that it's really hard for to get reverse swept because of his lack of walls.
Yeah, it's hard for Scarfers to beat him.
Yeah.
His hazard removal's insane as well.
Yeah,
Like,
he
every
has the most
single
hazard
one-
removal in the game, in any games.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to complain about one thing about his offense, he doesn't really have a physical wall breaker. Mega Arrow's not like super powerful.
Yeah,
I
I
think
can agree
Bandit
with that.
Scissors.
Huh?
Bandit Sizzle.
Bandit Scissor, and then after a home close, Aerodynamic could do the job. But I actually agree with you. Off the bat, I don't have something that just goes bang through a physical wall.
Yeah. But it's hard to complain about this offense. This offense is really, really good.
I've got a few things to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
In like my books, from my past like experience, I think a dark type's like always really needed. And the fact you don't have a dark type or like a ghost resist or a ghost immunity in general, I think is gonna really hinder you. I think stuff like bulky psychics that can just run mono psychic, acid armor, carmined or sub carmined are just gonna be a massive problem, especially since your psychic resist has a 4 times weakness. I just think that's gonna be a massive problem.
He does have stuff to beat that. Like he has tools like Roar, Hippowdon, and Trick, Lottie, and Trick Chandelier.
Yeah, but Hippowdon's
I
not
can
going
see
to
how
take
you're-
like +1 psychics. It's not like
Yeah.
the most.
No,
defensive
I
game.
agree with you. I actually wanted to have a dark type towards the end, but Hippowdon proved itself to be a bit more useful for me.
Yeah,
Hippowdon's
Hippowdon really rounds out this draft. If you didn't have
Yeah.
Hippowdon, I would drop the draft like 3 points. Hippowdon's super
Yeah.
important. Is decent defensively with Latias. The only thing I would say is that you do have a bit of a fire weakness and a bit of a ice weakness. I would like
we've
to.
talked about this already,
Yeah, I know. I would like to see you either get a good defensive fire type or water type.
Well, the cat, go find me one that works for my team, and I'll consider it. Okay.
Okay. Well,
I've had a look, and all the replacements that I could do hinder my team more than they could help.
okay.
uh,
Well,
just-
I'm just saying.
I wouldn't be.
that's a
I wouldn't
problem
be
with
picky.
the
That's
draft.
just a nitpick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more of a
think
nitpick.
you
I
need a
agree. It's
water.
not a super big problem, but I
I don't think you
mean,
need one to make this team function on what it's supposed to do. And I
I
think
would go
Hippo
Bulldog.
is a great wall for you because it's your ground and it doesn't get OHKO'd by anything usually. So.
Well, on the physical side, yeah. On the special
No,
side,
even, on
grass,
the, no, even on the special side. Even on the special side, like I've seen mixed wall Hippo work.
Yeah, true.
Just doesn't die.
There is one other thing. As for the physical wall breakers, Coco can take that role if I want him to. I have a right to Lola to do the special attacking side if necessary.
that's a good point. Yeah.
So
I
he
see
can
that.
just pull out the fucking wild charge out of nowhere and just be like, yeah, fuck you.
And even though you don't like it, I like Whirlipede as a suicide lead for you.
No, I think
Well,
Whirlipede's
I
really
would
good.
trade it for Volibee personally.
I think a suicide lead is needed on a hyper offensive team because there's no way they're going to click for defog, and if they do, you gain too much momentum off of it. You're getting off the back.
Well, I have.
Isn't Rose Raid
Doesn't
just better though as a lead for Spike Stark? It literally
Who?
does the
Oh,
exact
Rose
same
Raid.
thing.
Rose Raid, yeah, but
Yeah,
if you just
that-
wanted to like have Rose Raid fill a different role.
This
Yeah.
Rose Ray can
I
do
feel like
Rose Ray
Volibee is redundant.
I mean, I think I
Volleybee's
would like
better.
to see you drop like Roserade for a defensive fire or water.
I've already
Um,
explained to you why I want.
I know.
Rose Ray.
I'm just
Rose Ray
saying.
is my status absorber. It's immune to Spore and Sleep Powder. Well, everyone is because they have Coco. Immune to Toxic, doesn't care about burn, and if it gets paralyzed, well, you can just switch out. It's good
Yeah,
magic.
Volibee.
Yeah, I agree. It's good for status absorbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what he said.
Um,
You said get Volibee over Willipede?
Yep.
No,
Well,
I don't
this is
agree
actually
because that hurts your ice weakness and it doesn't.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Absolutely.
see it at all. I don't know how you're gonna use Volibee on a
Oh
hyper
shit!
offense
Yeah,
team.
you're right. This is. I don't think it's that.
Honestly, it depends
not the
on
worst
how
thing
the
in the
weeks
world,
go.
It
It depends
is
on how
there.
the weeks go.
Yeah. I've got
Um,
3 resists, but I've got 4 weaknesses, so it's fair.
Yeah.
Fair to point that out. And
Well, 4 weaknesses and your 2 of the weaknesses are your wall core. So.
I have a wall core? Where is it?
Well, your Latias had held on
He
wall
has a wall
core.
core.
Your
Yeah, no, I go what you mean. Yeah, they're both
Okay.
to ice, but otherwise they support each other very, very well.
Yeah, this is my favorite draft. It still has problems, but I gave it a 9 out of 10. Super solid, I think.
8.5 for me.
Gave it 7.5.
I wanted to add one last thing. It's also very useful to have sand just to chip out
Yeah,
everybody's
just
health.
damage from
It really
Definitely.
helps offense.
Okay, we'll move on to Elliot's draft.
Oh no.
Let me get my notes up on Elliot's
Mute me,
draft.
buddy. Mute me, buddy. I love you. Mute me, buddy.
And he does have Heatran over Rotom.
Yeah.
So your highest speed is only 115, which
Mhm.
isn't great.
That's fine.
Well, it's not fine. I mean, it sucks, but
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
You only have one removal option, which is actually your only rocks weakness, which is a good thing, I guess, because you only have one rocks weakness.
Yeah, I was.
So
gonna
you're
say,
not.
If I got another hazard weak, like a rock weakness, I would have got.
Yeah. So
Another
you're
spinner
not
or
weak to,
something.
and you also do have Mega DNC, which helps a little bit. But
Yeah.
I could see like if you're not bringing Quillfish, T spikes could be an issue.
That's fair. I just had cool because I think this is why I think grounded poison are like it always needs just to like scare.
Well, on
away
your
toxic
team, you
bugs.
definitely need
I
grounded poison.
usually agree with you,
That's
but
fine.
not for my team. But we'll get to
We'll
that.
talk about it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the only other thing, well, two things. First of all, you're lacking a little bit of wall breakers. Diancie can do it on either side, but that's your only option really. And then Heatran a little bit, but not a great wall breaker.
It could force me into using like wall breaking Heatran.
Yeah.
Yes. I think Z-Chomp personally is a wall breaker, but I guess that's why.
A little bit, yeah. And then the last thing is that you have a slight ground and ice weakness.
I agree with the ice weakness. I agree with the ground weakness just because Tangrowth and Mandibles are literally two of the best ground checks in the game.
Yeah, but when you have Heatran, I don't know. You have.
But like when that's my core, you've got a resistance and an immunity in your core. I think that's fine.
I guess, but you just
I
have
think it's a lot
you have
better than
three
Core
like
Tangrowth.
major ground weaknesses in Diancie, Heatran, and Raikou. So like.
Yeah. It's better than Torterra and Mega Pidgeot.
And
everyone's saying.
Quillfish too, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think the ground weakness is a thing. I mean, they're not just gonna be if they just run ground and coverage, for your Manabuzz and Tangrowth, they can definitely run through your team.
I think it would have to be some sort of special one though, because I think Tangrowth takes on pretty much. Apart from like Z-Fly, Lando takes on anything that's physical and ground. Like,
I don't like the Gothitelle on your team because you only have 2 pivots, and it doesn't really trap anything that any of your other Pokemon would appreciate.
Fighting type.
If I get that. But and then like the Mandibuzz being your only defogger was a bigger deal for me than Ben, even though it's your only rocks weakness. You are running what looks like to be bulky offense.
Yeah.
And even though Mega DNC helps you a little bit, you don't really want to be predicting that much. Like let's go into a Ferrothorn with Mega DNC to bounce back rock. You don't really want to be doing that.
Well, Gothitelle takes on Ferrothorn. That's what it traps.
Yeah, but it can be prepped for, and it can be like shed shell and stuff like that, and it can trap some stuff, but
exactly.
Like Gothitelle works well with you're getting pressured, and I'm gonna volt switch into Gothitelle because you made a mistake, and then your Pokemon's dead.
Yeah, but Mandibles is literally the perfect partnership for Gothitelle.
Yeah,
it knocks off shed shells and it U-turns.
I just think you need more.
I don't know what else I could have done more though. I have 2 bulky pivots. My 2 bulky pivots have knockoff, and one of them can U-turn into Gothitelle. I feel like that just applies, and I think Mega Diancie and Garchomp, something that could like struggle with maybe a potential 2-hit KO with leftovers, Gothitelle can just force shed shells, allowing them to 2-hit KO. That's what the plan was.
I guess.
And I think that's...
No, I don't know. I like Gothitelle on this team. I don't think you necessarily need to have really good pivots for Gothitelle. I mean, you can just predict a switch too. It's not a big deal.
I think Mandibles is perfect synergy.
Yeah, he has to predict the switch. Or just U-turn with Mandibuzz, but that's really it.
I would have got Circling Blast if you didn't want it.
And also, I didn't think you had any like glaring threats other than Mega DNC.
Garchomp isn't a threat.
SD Garchomp is cool, but
I think that's really underlining how good Garchomp is with Z moves. Tell me something that takes a +2 Garchomp Z move, and then I'll put my hands up.
Okay.
It
Well,
depends. Yeah.
yeah.
Are we
No,
gonna
I
say
think
any
it's.
positives about the team, or
I
What do you
did
think?
say.
I don't know. Your
say
offense
positives.
is good for the most. I guess your wall core more is. I like your wall core.
I like your hazards. You have every single hazard
Oh
except
yeah,
sticky
that's
web.
like the best thing
You don't
about
really
his team.
need sticky web on this team.
I mean, he's got amazing hazards. He only has defog though, but I don't think he's really gonna be defogging anyway.
If you play correctly, then it'll be hard to like counter the bulk. Like if anybody's going against you.
yeah, but it's not just bulk. I have two really scary offensive threats, and Gothita can trap any bulk that's hindering any of my offense.
I don't think they're as scary as you say, but that's just my opinion.
Can echo anything
Yeah.
up plus 2.
That's just a difference of opinion, though.
But it's not an
Because
opinion.
like I don't see Gothitella as like a big deal. But I can see
Okay.
where you're coming from.
Well, okay.
Yeah. I think it's solid overall. I gave it an 8. I like
Yeah, I
it.
gave mine an 8 too.
I gave it a 6.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's still good.
I think you're just hung
I
up
think
on the Gothito thing, Omega.
I think well that's part of it, but
I think we just have different priorities in our draft.
Yeah.
I think that's just the difference.
yeah, like I said, and then I even though he thinks so, I still think it's not really anything scary on the team, but I still like it. 6.5 is still good.
I don't think 14th out of 16 is good though. I still don't know how it's worse than 13 other teams personally.
Alright.
But,
Yeah, that's why I don't like power rankings, like because you just have to put your teams up against theirs and just judge them like that. But I still think like
I would just like to see someone who has as good as a fairy dragon seal core that I have, like good hazards, bulk, and even like I defend my speed tiers personally. I think 102.
I'm fine with your speed tiers.
Yeah.
Ben isn't, but I'm.
It's just you could have one thing over 115. Like the
Yeah.
speed is spread out.
I would be guilty on, but I think
speed is-
Viking was. I think it's a steal for round 6. I would just pick that.
Alright. Yeah, we'll move on,
Alright, let's move on.
to Junior.
Is Junior in the call?
No, I don't think so. Where's Junior? So his only defoggers are Mew and Rotom Wash, which isn't ideal.
And Mega Altari.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but he
But
does have
he's
really
still
good
got-
hazards. Like I guess what I was saying there was he only has defog, and he has like this insane like amount of hazards, which
Yeah.
sucks. And he does have some rocks weaknesses, so like he would like to
He
defog.
doesn't have one rock weakness, funny enough.
Huh?
He doesn't have one rock weakness.
No, he has Honchkrow and he has Altaria
before
before.
Mega Evolve.
Oh,
Mega Evolve.
Honchkrow. Yeah, I didn't see that.
And Honchkrow, yeah.
Yeah.
I think defog Mew and defog Mega Altari are going to be forced to run too much. I guess
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
It depends on if he just keeps up momentum with his insane hazards that he has, but I'm not sure you can with this team.
It's just a bit of an iffy one.
Yeah, it's iffy.
Yeah. And then again, his speed. His high is only 115, which I mean, I think he's super pressured to bring Ambipom most games, because of that
his
I
team-
speed.
think the same with Registeel too. Registeel is so relied on this team.
Yeah, and then
his team
his
is
only other
slow.
thing is Infernape, which is fast, but not fast enough. A lot of times. Yeah, the speed, and I just think his offense is kind of underwhelming. He doesn't have
I agree.
like he's got some power with Nidoking, but Altaria can be dealt with. Infernape can definitely be dealt with. Yeah, I just don't like his offense
versatility.
very much.
His first two picks are really versatile. I like the Mega Altaria for just the amount of stuff it can do. His team is at least in the part of his offense isn't that easy to prep for, and Nidoking, but his walls are easy to prep for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and his
his
walls
walls-
also lack a little bit of recovery.
Yeah, that too.
He should have got a cleric,
like
a
Burn
good
went-
witch master.
Yeah, like Burn was saying that he's like forced to bring like Mew and defensive Altaria, because those are
Yeah.
like some of his only things that have recovery. So
Defensive Altaria is going to be brought a lot, probably.
yeah, defensive Altaria with
I do like
Defog.
it for his team, but it's just going to be pressured.
Mhm. Which again hurts his offense, which is already like really underwhelming.
Yeah.
Um,
It relies on setup. Mew sets up, Infernape sets up. Only Nidoking really, but he doesn't have like the best support for it.
yeah, he does have good setup. That's like the one positive about his draft, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Besides maybe his amount of hazards, but again,
Maybe he
the
relies
hazards
on
don't
Rotom
matter
for
so much
defog.
if he only has defog. Yeah.
His
Yeah.
versatility is amazing as well.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I think depending on matchups, he can do whatever he wants with this team. But he is going to be forced to bring Registeel, I think, every week, or near every week, into a specific role to help Mew.
Well, I mean,
Like,
his
when Mew's not
versatility,
competitive, Registeel will be.
his versatility's nice, except yeah, he's forced to bring Registeel, he's forced to bring Ambipom, and he's forced into bringing like a defensive Altaria a lot of weeks. So
Mhm.
it's kind of gonna be
And
like,
he might just have to bring Scarf Rotom all the time too, or Scarf Ape, just
Yeah,
to deal with somebody's speed because his team's just so slow.
yeah, I agree.
Doesn't have webs or yeah.
yeah,
I
that's
agree.
another point Josh brought up. He doesn't really have good phasing. I could definitely see that.
Phasing, like, raw and shit.
Yeah, Roar or even like Haze.
Yeah, it's only Mew, I think.
And Megalot, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Mega Altaria gets Roar. But
Yeah.
it's
I don't think that's a problem, though, because setup's
It's
not too much of a problem. He's got Ambipom with Fake Out, really good priority options with Infernape. But yeah, he's gonna be forced to run Scarfers.
Yeah.
For, like, speed
yeah,
boosters.
a lot, and then that hinders his offense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hurts his power when he only has one
And then
power
I
mod
don't
anyway.
I don't really like Honchkrow for him either.
Yeah.
I just don't like his.
Yeah, I just don't like. Yeah, that's the thing. I just don't like his offense. His wall core doesn't have reliable recovery. It's just kind of a meh combination. I give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah.
I give it a 7.
6.5.
The versatility is still really good, but all the stuff we talked about still hurts him.
Okay. We will go on
This is the most controversial team.
to
I really don't have
Winston's
a look at it.
AIDS
It's
draft.
fucking retarded. Let me unmute it in one sec.
So Winston. Okay, I've seen
Hello,
Winston
Big Dog.
draft. I've seen Winston draft stall in a lot of leagues before,
This is
and he
semi-stall.
plays so No, this is like almost as stall as you're gonna get in
No,
in
this
draft
is
league.
only half, less than half.
No, it's not. Fuck off.
This is about as stall as you get in
This
draft
is
league.
not stall. This is half
It's
stall.
Okay, I
No,
think
shut up.
it's
It's full stall. It's full stall.
it's
Shut
close
up.
to full
And
stall.
the
Listen, there's
refinement
nothing wrong
was
with
actual full stall. That was like every single one was.
But anyway,
Every
the
single
point
is fucking stall.
the point I was
Just
gonna
wrap it up
make
for hyper stall. That's the only thing that he's there for.
But you know what? I'm just gonna let Ben talk.
the point I
Okay.
was gonna make is just that I've seen Winston draft stall before, and he usually does decent with it, but a lot of times towards the end of the season, his plays and his prep gets so predictable. He's running like the same 7 Pokemon every single time. That I just think, yeah, it's gonna be really predictable. People are gonna know what he's bringing, and it's gonna be beatable.
I judge it off the team, not the player.
Yeah, I'm
I
just
would
saying
do
that's
that
my
for teams
experience with
predictable,
stall
but
drafts before, is that
it's
it gets
predictable.
predictable, especially towards the later half of the season.
It's predictable as fuck. Considering this league is quite competitive, I
Yeah.
just don't know how he's going to be able to like reverse map to actually win games. It's just going to be predicted every single week, in my opinion.
If he plays correctly, he can do it. He
that's why I'm
certainly
gonna
has the
play.
team for it, and he does have really hard hitting Pokemon.
Yeah.
Really hard hit.
Yeah.
Like I just think the
Terrakion
only hard
hits
hitting
hard.
is
Lulu hits hard.
I think
I don't
think
like.
Terrakion-
Well, I was gonna say I also don't like his speed. Like he has 130 and 110, but they're both like offensive rock types. So it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of the same thing with Greninja and Gengar, in my opinion. They fill similar-ish roles.
That's the
So
only thing I don't like is the arrow. But everything else I like on this team.
Completely similar. They literally the same.
Yeah.
I don't know why he picked Aerodactyl, not something like Staraptor.
yeah, I agree. I don't agree with the
Hypersoul's
arrow.
the best goal.
Um,
Hypersoul's the best goal.
and yeah, his Uniclus is his only special attacker, really.
It's retarded.
It is stall.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
but he's only the special attacker, like.
Yeah, it's Rotom and Reuniclus. That's it.
And
Hello,
also-
can I talk?
If you can
Go ahead.
talk.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I
Go ahead.
was just saying that I don't think this draft is all that. I think I have a lot of versatility on here. Like Renika's super versatile, Zygarde is super versatile, Bulu is super versatile, Terrakion super versatile, Mega State
Did you
Plus
say
super versatile.
Terrakion was super versatile?
Yeah, it's got a lot of sets it can run.
I
And
don't
that
know about
Z,
that.
it's got really good Z coverage. It's super
Really good Z
powerful.
coverage. It has Stone Edge and Earthquake and close combat. Tell me what
That's
else.
goat. It's
Also-
good. It kills everything.
Honestly, that's all it needs, really. It is a Terrakion.
Yeah, but that isn't versatile like he's saying it
No,
is.
I don't think
Okay,
it's
but
versatile.
Zygarde is super versatile, Renika's is super versatile, and Bulu is super versatile.
You're fucking using it. It's gonna run glare every single week, and that's all it's gonna do. You're relying
Stop
on
memeing. I'm not gonna do that. I'm only gonna do that versus you.
Yeah, I don't know how
That's
many
all.
sets you can run when you're running a stall core. Like,
Yeah.
kind
What do
of
you
are
mean?
forced
There's
into
lots
the
of
same
sets I can run.
sets.
You know, like Sub Toxic, Sub Glare. You know, Sub
Exactly,
Glare
yeah.
D-Dan. There's like weakness policy. Rest Talk. More Glare.
Okay, and my other point
More
about his
glare.
draft is for a stall team, he's got four times weaknesses, which isn't great.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
It's fine. My team's a goat. You can't beat it.
Quagsire and top specs over
Oh,
line.
also, I like how I have Terrakion as a knockoff switch and easy.
Okay.
That is true.
I'll
Like
just say one
Terrakion
my last
plus
no,
one.
last point.
It's pretty good.
Quagsire and top specs are still relied on for like certain type resist and preventing setup. That's what I think.
Oh
yeah, but the two of them
absolutely.
have each other's back, so they got it.
How do they have each other's backs?
Well,
They'll help each other out.
Well, Toxapex isn't weak to grass,
help each
and
other out.
Quagsire isn't weak to electric, so I think it's actually a pretty good pairing.
Yeah, but he's still relying on bringing these two mons, which makes the team even more predictable.
No, I don't have to bring these two mons every single week. I can run offense.
Well, he has to bring one of the
Keep
two.
saying it's stall, even though only half the team's stall.
He has to
What are you
bring
gonna
What
one
about
of
the
the
other
two.
half?
What are you gonna do when a Komodo hits you with it?
What am I gonna do when a Komodo hits you? I'm just gonna send in Toxic and spam haze, easy.
That's right, you will. Exactly,
Anyway.
you're gonna have to bring Haze, or you're gonna have to bring Quagsire.
Also, I could just send in like I don't know,
Nothing.
like Forest Trash or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. Exactly, you just spelled
I
it out.
do like Fortress on your team. It gives you all the hazards you need.
I think Forest
And it
and
gives him
Chance are really
default
good
or
together.
rapid
Forest is
spin.
your
which
only
he
spinner.
needs.
Like,
Yeah.
Defog Aerodax on Defog Rose and Frost.
Ronan Frost is not a bad defog.
Uh,
I also have Sableye Mega to already deal with the hazards, so my
Exactly,
hazards
I-
don't have to deal with them.
no, I think his hazards are fine.
Also, I really like the hazards on this team because Fortress and Chansey and Toxapex are super consistent with hazards.
All right, well, we should move on. I think he's actually going to have a lot of success with this draft. I think especially in the regular season. I think he'll start to get predicted a lot towards the end of the season. But I still gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Because
don't
I
know how
have
we
seen
can just
stall
use that
work.
many weaknesses and give it an 8.5.
I think Stall is predictable, but he has really good Pokemon for the Stall core.
Yeah,
he has
I
good
agree.
hard hitting Pokemon because if you're not careful, he could easily break through yours.
It's just
And
Tapu
you
Bulu.
stall it
That's
out.
the extent it goes to.
I have Terrakion.
That's why I also gave it an 8.5.
And they're both predictable.
Predicted. What? Tapu Bulu is super versatile. You must be high.
Retarded. This team is
You're
Alright,
retarded.
alright. We need to
My
move on.
team's the
We need to
goat.
move on.
You can't
I give
beat
it
it.
a
Give me
5.
10 out of 10
Alright,
draft
5, 8.5, 8.5. We're
Five.
moving on to Mike's
was
team.
Wait, what did Elliot give me?
Okay.
5.
Oh, why you said you gave me 6.5 on your PowerPoint.
I fucking changed it.
Why did you change it? Mike, that's the
Okay,
goat.
okay. We need to move on.
It's just not good.
It's the
Moving.
goat.
It's not good. We
It's
literally-
the goat.
That's enough.
I can only say the only reason why these people are giving you higher scores is because they like you.
No,
We literally just lifted
I'm-
more.
No, you're
That is
biased.
definitely
You
not
want me
true.
kicked. This is unfair.
There's more negatives than we have for the most of the other
Okay,
teams.
okay.
and
We
you-
can argue after
My
the
team
podcast
is
is
the
over.
goat.
Elliot.
Alright.
Let's move on.
Mike's team.
Chill.
Mike's team. He doesn't have great removal. Scissor, especially with Scissor, he's gonna be relying on Scissor to defog a lot.
Up free last.
I think he's Scald weak. He does have Seismitoad, but besides that, he doesn't have a great Scald switch in at
100%
all.
agree. Extremely Scald weak.
Yeah. What else?
And he has 4 times weaknesses.
And then another weird thing I noticed about his draft, like he has good speed, oh man, the echo. But all his speed is special, and then all his he also has really good setup, but all his setup is physical. So it's a very odd pairing.
I like the pairing of Persian and a little Ninetales, but I don't like everything else around it because it's subpar in my opinion.
Lando T subpar, what?
What is
Yeah.
subpar?
What?
What are you talking about?
No, his setup is really
exactly?
good. Only
How
that
can you call something
his
like
setup is
Tapu Bulu
physical.
really good and then just say Lando T
Because listen, let me explain.
Look,
So wait, hold on. Let me explain. So what I mean by subpar is that even with Aurora Veil, since you have so many times 4 weakness mons, you're still gonna get 2 KO through the Veil.
Yeah.
Can I defend myself? for a
4
second
times
here?
weaknesses.
Yeah, go ahead.
Omega, you're a non-player. Second, all 5 of these quad weaknesses you're talking about force the opponent to run a hidden power for something. You
That's not
can't hit
true.
all 5 of the quad weaknesses on my team at the same time. There's just not enough coverage
If
to
I have
do
6
it.
Pokemon, I can run
Also,
5 different
Nihiligo's
typings.
quad weakness to ground isn't exactly a quad weakness because its defense is so low it would get OHKO'd by any ground hit anyways at a single weakness. So that one doesn't really count.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like
Also, I have one of the best checks to a Lolo Tails in Mega Scizor anyways.
and what?
What?
Mega Scizor.
Why do you need a check to Alolan Tails?
I'm just saying that that's one less check on the board to a Lola Tails that can only punch me or something.
There's plenty of Pokemon that can beat it.
Also,
Yeah.
you guys are saying I'm Scald weak, but you don't realize how big of a boon Water Absorb really is. You don't want to spam Scald against me because you're going to heal my Seismitoad, which is already a difficult mon to take down if it's played well.
That's one Pokemon though.
Gelatin
If
also
you don't bring
takes
it that
spells
way.
quite well that aren't then coming off like a high base special attack. And he also has Veil if he needs to.
Exactly, and Mesprit doesn't mind Scald either.
And Lilligant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, the rocks. He has
The
like
Lilligant.
2 major rocks weaknesses in Entei and Alolan Tails, and really not much removal at all. He also has. I think the best thing about his team is I do like his setup options with Veil and Parting Shot. That's really nice.
I think that's the worst thing about his team.
I just think that since all of
How
his setup is
specifically
physical,
is that a bad thing? How is it bad
Because
to
they
have
don't-
good setup users?
Because they
with
don't
the
work
Aurora
together
Veil?
well with each other.
yeah, because they're
Aurora
all
Veil
physical.
just makes any setup work.
That's
Not
not
your team
necessarily
though.
true.
Yeah, it does. What?
I feel like you're really biased.
I'm not biased. I'm judging everybody's team on no bias whatsoever. I don't know any of you guys. I'm just judging your Pokemon.
Yeah, but you're saying Bulu's hyper versatile, and now you're saying Lando,
I didn't
not.
say that. Winston said that.
and you're saying Lando's subpar. Or well, you're not saying it's hyper versatile, but you're saying it's a good mon, and now you're saying Lando T's subpar. Like I don't see where you're coming
I don't
from with
personally
this.
like Lando T, but I understand that it's a good Pokemon.
Well, then you're being biased. All right, I'm gonna stop.
I think that. Can I just say the biggest weakness that his team has?
Yeah.
Is his fighting weakness.
That one I completely agree with.
Yeah, huge fighting weakness.
Fighting
Yeah.
weakness, and also I think he has a ground weakness. A little bit.
And mons that have really versatile coverage like Ice Beam and Flamethrower and just like just
Yeah.
put one Pokemon on that. It
They have
really
to have
hurts his team.
4 moves can't cover his entire team because
That's what I was
But
saying.
it doesn't have to cover his entire team. It only has to cover what you're trying to accomplish to beat
Yeah.
it.
It only has to
You know what I'm
cover
saying?
the
So
Pokemon
only
that
If
he's
only
trying to deal
Lando
with.
and Scizor beat your one Pokemon, all you need to do is have coverage for 2 of those, and then it doesn't matter about everybody else.
I agree with Elliot on this one that there's always going to be something I can switch into most mons with good coverage.
I like Lax. It switches into everything.
Snorlax is perfectly synergized with Mega Scizor and Landorus too. Perfectly.
I don't know about perfect, but it's pretty good, yeah.
How's it not
Yeah,
perfect?
you can't spam ice or fire.
It's genuinely perfect.
No, yeah, it's good. I don't know about
You
perfect.
can't spam ice or fire, and Lando
Because-
T takes the fighting attacks, which is Snorlax's only weakness.
Yeah, but fighting commonly
Fighting is
run
a
Ice
problem
Punch.
for this team, but
They
yes.
commonly run Ice Punch, and it is a problem for your team overall.
Right, yes, fightings are a problem for my
Yeah.
team, but
But we're
I'm
just
talking
saying
about
the
just the
specific
initial
type.
first 3 synergy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it does have some significant problems. The hazard removal, the fighting weakness, the 5
Yeah,
4
he only
times
had 2
weaknesses.
defoggers. Yeah.
I gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
I gave it a 7.5. Yeah.
Gave it an 8.5.
You like
Funny
it?
how there's such a big divide on analysis.
I mean, if you want to look, I mean,
Nah, I'm only fucking around. Although I'm serious because you guys are on analysts, except Elliot.
It's
Phase
because
bro.
Elliot really put you higher. That's why.
Oh, because I actually agree with his opinion on all the teams, and you said Winston's team's an 8.5 as an on team.
I
I'm still
absolutely think
lost
it's
on
an
that.
8.5. Huge.
I'm still,
It's a huge threat.
yeah.
I'm still so lost on that.
Okay, moving on to Noob's team.
Goodbye, free world.
Noob's team
Mike,
is
stay.
also one of
Okay,
the.
I'll stay.
I like Noob's team in general. He actually has some good offense to go with his insane bulk, which he always has. He's actually got really good speed. That's maybe one of the really good things
I
about
wouldn't
his
say
draft.
the offense is insane. It really just stops after Crook and Megalati.
Well, Swallow's good. Good for speed.
Kabalion's good. Swallow's good.
It's good for speed, but it's not good for
I think the best thing on this team is probably Salazzle. I think he's gonna do so well with Salazzle.
Yeah.
Salazzle with Zapdos is just so annoying. You
Yeah.
can just
Yeah.
toxic stall anything with pressure, and it's like, oh my
Yeah.
god. And he has wish support and heal bell for it. Like,
Yep.
Salazzle definitely is going to be a good mon for him.
Yep.
And I gotta say this almost every season with Noob, but he is lacking power. Megaladios is his only
He's right.
power.
You are right.
I mean, Megaladios is fine, but you would like to have a second power mon.
It is a tiny bit weak to rocks, but he has good removal. So that's fine.
I don't think his wall
Yeah.
core synergizes well. He doesn't even really have a wall core per se. It's just Zapdos and Vaporeon.
Yeah, I
just
think
feel
he's
like he
lacking a
breaks
little bit
by
of a.
physical features.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
he's lacking
I
a
can
little
see
bit
that.
of physical defense. Zapdos is okay, but it can't hit. It can't take super strong hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of a Bulu switching. The Bulu switching.
I think Stone is just gonna do a lot with it, to be fair.
But yeah, he's got. Go ahead.
I think the biggest weaknesses for me is that first of all his knockoff uses are quite limited, and I think Megalati kind of appreciates knockoff, just for, like berries and shit. And I think that Rhydon is so useless and redundant on this team. It's literally just 10 mons and a Rhydon. Rhydon serves the same purpose as
It
Crocodile
can give him a
on this
really
team.
good physical wall for certain matchups.
Yeah, but Crocodile does the exact same thing. It could be just a better physical wall.
I think
Not
he wanted
necessarily.
he wanted a rock. That's why.
Yeah, but it just.
Well, he already
And his
has really
speed
good
test
removal
completely
or
deteriorate
good
after
hazards.
Crocodile. Below Crocodile, it just drops down to Vaporeon. Shit like Mamo, base 90s, they can just run like Adamant Modest and just break through his walls a lot easier. Which is what biggest problem for me as well was.
I think Type Null and Rhydon also rely on Eviolite a lot. And
yeah.
Even though he does have Kabalion that would justify the boost, but
I think
he has a fighting weakness too.
I think he's going to be relying a lot on Vaporeon, especially because he needs recovery for a lot of his mons, like Wish Passing, and Vaporeon's like his only like hard wall on the special side, or just hard wall in general. So yeah, little over reliant on Vaporeon. Yeah. And also I don't know.
I can see him like if his opponent has hazards up and has like a fighting knockoff Ice Punch.
Yeah.
It could do a lot of work to his team.
Yeah, I can definitely see knockoff being a problem. He's got Kobao, but besides that, knockoff's pretty spammable against him.
Sure, yeah. Close combat, something
especially
like that.
with his 2 Eviolite mons at the bottom.
I think you should just drop Rhydon and get something better. It's just
I can agree.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's just get something like Hazard Stack. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I can see that.
If he uses Salazzle really well, he's gonna beat a lot of people though.
Yeah. Salazzle's so good on this team.
And then
Yeah,
Kabalion.
Salazzo's so good.
I think he's Eat Kabalion, right?
I mean,
But
if
he
New
hasn't-
plays his general playstyle, just stalling and then using
He got
Salazzo to
28
toxic
kills with
everything,
Cobalion one season.
huh?
20,
Okay,
He got
okay.
28 kills with Cobalion one season.
Okay.
Wow.
So he's gonna do a lot of work, I think.
Oh, and then we haven't mentioned the giant speed gap he has between
I
92.
said
No,
that.
he said it already.
Oh,
said
you did?
that.
Okay. But yeah, that's a problem too. I mean, when like base 80s can just run like max HP or whatever, that really is a problem. Especially because he doesn't really have the power to break through like bulky offensive mons.
He does not have the power. He has to rely on set but Mega Latios or
Yeah.
Crocodile. Or Cobalion. I think he should Z Crocodile, honestly. I think that's his underrated Z user. Actually,
I like
Can he
Kabalion
Z both?
better personally.
Can he Z both? Cobalion is... No, he can't. But... I don't know them.
Yeah, you can't. Okay, well, I like it in general. I gave it an 8.5.
I gave it an 8.5 too.
Gave him 7.5.
Okay.
Alright,
Um,
Yeah, move on to my team. You guys go ahead.
You first.
Omega?
Me?
I don't want to talk about
Yeah.
my team first.
Yeah, Mega first. I'll go.
Mamo. Alright, the only rockers are Mamo and Swampert for really like Barbarical.
Yeah,
is
Barbarical
only has
doesn't
one
count.
set.
Yeah.
And what did I tell you the other day? I gotta get my notes out. You don't have any real wall breakers. I mean, Mamo is okay. Mianshao's okay.
What?
Limited special attackers. He has a speed gap between Mega Manectric and Lottie.
Mhm.
And I also said you're really weak to spikes, even though you have two. Yeah, you have two removers, and most of your team just gets destroyed by spikes. So that was my
I
main
can
point.
see that.
Alright. I actually disagree. I think Mammoth Swine is literally the definitive wall breaker. Whenever
Yeah.
anyone says do you have a switch in, it's Mammoth Swine.
I mean, that's the meme, but that's only on paper.
It's yeah, but it's better on not on paper. Literally the typing and just look at the calcs. The only thing that really takes it is really bulky water. And Bandit Mien Shao, just reckless.
Oh yeah, but you're not gonna run Bandit every week.
I know, but it's
Yeah.
just there as a threat. Stuff like
Yeah.
Cresselia takes like 30 to 40%. It's
Yeah.
a really good wall breaker.
I definitely
think-
have like nukes. I have like the
I wonder
Latios
who suggested
Draco
that to you.
nuke, and then I have Mienshao high jump kick. So I think I have some wall breakers, even though it's like not definitive power. But I could maybe
Because like
use
Mamo
one more.
on paper beats every team, but it usually only gets like 2 kills, maybe.
2 kills is enough though, dude.
I mean, if it's breaking through like
Not every
two
single
fat
time either.
walls.
Sometimes it just does nothing and just sets up rocks. Because he only has 2 real rockers.
It's that's something. Yeah, I guess that's fair enough. It's gonna limit Mouse One a little bit, but
Yeah.
Mouse One breaks teams literally. Days. I think your defoggers are a little bit bleak, but at the end of the day, you really only have one rock weakness.
Yeah, I
so
only
that's
have
not
one
really a
rocks
problem.
weakness.
It's just the same as what I was gonna say. Like I've
And I have
only
a
got
really-
only got one rocks weakness.
Yeah,
They're
one
both
rocks
eyeball.
weakness, and I have a good T spike switching, really good T spike switching.
Yeah.
Um,
What was I say? What's my bad points? Volton's really good as well, and your speed is really good. I think the worst thing is that fighting types just run through it. Just
Fighting
run
types?
through.
I mean,
Yeah.
if it's a physical fighting type, I can see it a little
Physical
bit.
fighting types run
I
through.
mean, I have two really
Florges-
good special resists in Latios and Florges.
Florges just gets it does not take physical fighting.
Yeah,
it's
I
very-
agree. I
I
can
don't
see
think
that.
it's as bad as the last 2 teams.
Oh no, it's not. That's just a nitpick.
Yeah.
I think knockoffs
Yeah,
can be a bit of a problem too.
Because like defensive Arcanine can take some stuff like that. Swampert can take some stuff. Floor just beats fighting types with Moonblast, even though they can run Poison Jab sometimes.
Poison Jab's doing a lot for Florges. It's
Yeah.
so weak defensively.
And
I think it's
Celesteela is just Celesteela.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess, but
And then I think
That's
I
a
have a
really good-
slight ground weakness as well. I have like 2 really good immunities and then a really good resist, but then I also have 4 weaknesses, so it's another nitpicky thing.
I think the worst thing is just knockoff and CC could knock off a fighting types for me. I think it's a really good team. It's one of my favorites.
I like it too. Just those nitpicks that I had.
Yeah. I'd give it an 8.
I gave it an 8 as well.
Gave it an 8.5. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll go on. An 8 for Elliot though was like an 8.5 though, because Elliot always gives lower points.
I'm just
I-
comparing. If I was comparing to the draft just this season, it would have been like a 9.5. But like for me in general, just from like
You also
past-
don't have that much setup.
Me? I think I have decent
Yeah.
setup. I have
Barbarical Shell Smash. That's about.
Barbarical, and then
top
I
nine.
have
last year, Stellar Stealer.
yeah,
He's
Latios
got good
Celestial.
stuff.
Celesteela for speed, yeah.
I have Drapion
Right.
too.
Okay.
Drapion sets up.
I think he's got good setup.
It's not that big of a threat.
I think
though.
my setup is fine. Honestly, it's more than I usually have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I usually don't
Oh,
have a lot of
then,
setup.
then I guess that's fine now.
Okay. Let's move on to Franny. With the late rain.
I really started to love his team with the first 5 picks, or even first 6 picks. Like,
Mhm.
I thought this was going to be the best team in the draft, and then he drafted Polytoad and Kabutops, and I think he reeled it back, but then he recovered with his other 2 picks after that, and then it just became a good team after that. But I
I
thought
agree.
he had the potential to be the best team in the league, for sure. I'm not a fan of Rain with Mega Venusaur. It makes Hurricanes more accurate. Sure, it helps Jirachi, but Kabutops, you can't really bring it without it. I do like Tornado Sai, though. And I thought, like,
I think
his Fairy Dragon Steel core is good, but it would have been better on balance because they're not the biggest offensive
Mhm.
threats.
yeah.
So I thought he was going to build a really good balanced team with this. With
I
this team.
think-
I thought that's what he was going for, but then he drafted Rain.
Like he is super. I think the best thing on his team is like that Tornadus High. Like he's super reliant on it, because it's his only like fast offensive thing. Ahsoka is fast, but it doesn't hit very hard at all. And yeah, his speed just is really lackluster in general. Besides like I guess Swift Swim Kabutops, but that's not always going to be there.
One Eyes, Striker, Excelgo.
But Zebstrika just sucks.
True, but it's still speed. It still offers a speed.
It's
to-
speed, but
It's
it's
not-
like what I mean.
it's
What's the
not that
point of
bad, I
having
would
like
say.
a super fast like a Selgor that isn't like I don't know. It doesn't. It
Well,
can't.
I
It
thought
can't
he was
even do
going
that much
for-
damage to offensive Pokemon. So it's not
It's
comparable
about
to like
pivot, though,
something
just
else
to,
that
like
would be
Diggersby
fast.
and
That's why I
Hydreigon.
thought he was just going to go for the balance core. But I'm not sure what Rain does first.
It helps Jirachi. I'll give him
That's
that
it.
one.
Though. That's it. I mean, and then Jirachi. I mean, you can still EQ it. You can still, use dark moves.
I think it's good stuff. Shit
Like-
shit like Thunder from Jirachi in the rain. 60%.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a bit.
Also,
On specific Jirachi sets.
he's got nice hazards, but he could use better rockers.
Oh yeah,
Like
his rockers.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's forced to run Stealth Rocks on Jirachi literally every single week,
That's
which
terrible.
sucks. I know that's
awful.
terrible.
And Kabutops can't come without the rain, so that's not even a rocker.
Yeah, totally. He's got a ice weakness and then a slight electric weakness. Yeah,
Yeah, he's electric weak.
like
Yeah,
just
like-
Bolt Beam in general runs straight
I
through
think
him.
that's why he got Lightning Rod Substriker. But he's still electric weak.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bring it every time. I love Kofag, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like his wall cores. It's pretty good. And then even like his offensive cores aren't terrible. Like Diggersby does a lot for him. Diggersby Hydreigon is like a super nice special physical offensive core.
Is it
Um,
power?
Yes. Well,
Yes, Diggersby's power.
Diggersby's
Diggersby's
power.
yeah, I think that's all I have on his hazard removal could be better too.
I think it has the
Um,
potential to if he drops Polytoad and Kabutops and gets 2 other Pokemon, it has the potential to being the best team in the draft.
You get like slow, bro.
I don't know about that. I still don't really like his offensive speed options.
Like get
and I
another
don't like
stealth rocker.
his
You
his
get a
stealth
good-
rockers.
Yeah.
And then his Bolt Beam weakness is definitely a big issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lowering it to a 7.
I gave it a 7.5.
I gave it an 8. That's weird because I feel like I'm the one that dislikes it the most. That's weird.
All right, move
Oh.
on to King Clyde.
My least favorite draft.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start then.
I've literally got a paragraph off of this. I'm sorry, Clyde, but well, I'm gonna say like the good shit for it. Like it's got good, great wall breakers, stealth rockers, good hazard removals. The speed taser are okay, like okay above base 100. Like it's got 105, 110, 111. It's not great.
Again, it's not
Not good
high.
at all, really, though.
Well, it's
I'm
got
just
power
below
level.
that. It just kind of deteriorates like noobs. Like he has Rotom Mo sort of in between, but Rotom Mo's just I don't know why I got Rotom Mo. I think a grounded grass would have been way better considering it's
Yeah.
Thunderous.
I definitely agree.
The team
Yeah.
is really weak to knockoff. Like it's the most knockoff weak team in the league. His knockoff resist is Mock, which really, if it loses its berry or assault vest, it's just gonna be
Well,
way.
No, he's got Clefable too, which isn't a great knockoff. I mean, it's a fine
No,
knockoff.
that's not good. That's not good. That's not.
Even
that's not
Empoleon, I think it's a slight knockoff weakness. I definitely don't think it's the worst in the league. I think Josh's is
I think
much
it's
worse.
definitely the worst in the league.
And even
it's by far.
Gallade like can switch in. Well, Gallade before it Mega
No.
Evolves is justified.
No.
Yeah, Gallade
Yeah,
before it Mega
yeah.
Evolves is justified.
It's not. Yeah, I know it's getting justified, but it's not taking knockoff. It's so physically frail.
Yeah,
It'll
do like
take
30 to
some knockoffs. It'll take
will
like
do
knockoffs on
what the mon
defensive
is.
Pokemon.
Depending on what mon it is, but I still think shit like Piloswine more.
Yeah, sure. No, I think
He
it's a
has
slight
some
knockoff
redundancy
weakness.
on the team though.
Like what?
Yeah,
like
I
you said.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
said Alamomola. He already has a bulky wall, so I guess it's
Yeah.
for a fire resist.
No, he needed like a
There's fire
physical
resist.
wall. I think a better physical wall.
I
I
guess.
think
That's what
I think
fire
actually
resist would be.
I think Alo's actually pretty necessary. Yeah, he's only got Stealth Rocks for hazards, and only has
It's just these
Defog.
Mamons that are that filled like the same role, or not necessarily fill the same role, but like type synergy wise, he didn't really need them. Like he didn't need like 4 Pokemon on his team that could be something else.
He didn't
Even
need
though like his
Rotom.
first 3 Mons are really good.
He did not need Rotom, man.
Yeah, I don't think he didn't need Rotom either.
And then
He's also slight ground weak, slight edgequake weakness.
Slight ground weakness, slight electric weakness too.
Fire, like special fire types. Alamomola isn't taking special fire hits.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it depends. It's got good HP.
Okay. Yeah, I actually think, I mean, his problems aren't, he doesn't have, like, a lot of big problems, like some other drafts. Like, I think the main thing with his draft is just kind of, like, the Mons aren't super intimidating. But I do think it's a pretty sound draft. I think he covered a lot of his, like, weaknesses well. So I actually gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
Gave it a 4.5. Now that I'm looking at it again, I'm gonna drop it to a 7.
Okay.
I had a 7.5.
We will move on to
Oh, okay, onto your
Omega's
team.
draft. Okay, so I actually really like Omega's draft in general. He's got a few problems, but I think they're pretty minor for the most part. The first thing is that he's Bolt Beam weak, especially that Gligar is his only ground type, which just immediately loses to Ice type or even like just a special attacker with like neutral coverage. His only switch into Bolt Beam is Umbreon. He's just got kind of like passive walls in general. Yeah. So I think I don't know.
I don't think they're
Passive
passive
walls.
if they have momentum.
Yeah,
I
but
don't believe a wall is passive if it has momentum.
I think Umbreon and Gligar are just the definition of passive. But Baton Pass is good, I guess, with Umbreon. And especially to Mega Medi. Yeah, I kind of like that.
the best thing about this draft is definitely the pivots and the Medicham he has. Mega Medicham.
Yeah, that's definitely the best team in the draft. Best thing in the draft.
And then a slight knockoff weakness as well.
Yeah. Okay. I think.
But I think they're pretty minor complaints. Just the Bolt Beam, I think, is the only significant thing. What were you gonna say?
Okay, I have a few things to say. I think okay. First of all, you got triple psychics. I think that's fine because they do relatively different things. Apart from like Azelf and Azelf's only really there for rocks, in my opinion, and guess the speed tier. But I think Azelf crossed over in Taunty, just like Gengar and Gren crossed over on Josh's team. They are both special pivots. I think that's all they're there for. If Azelf was there for the rocker, then I don't know why he got Metagross. I think
Needed a
that
steal.
Dark and
No, it was for the speed tier and for the pivot and for the setup and just a bunch of other stuff.
I
Not
think
just for,
Dark types and Ghost types are just gonna pressure Umbreon a lot. Umbreon's kind of like your main wall.
Yeah,
in your
Umbreon is
team.
super pressured on this draft.
Ghost types, I think that's your only switching really. Yeah, that's your only switching.
I mean,
Dark types is a
Gudra
massive
and Feeny
problem.
can take hits.
Yeah, it can take.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just spammable if you know what I mean. It's just.
I get
it
what
just,
you're saying.
Easy
Yeah.
spammable. And especially since Umbreon can't really, it's not very gonna do much damage back. I think setup Ghost types or setup Dark types are gonna be somewhat of a problem. But I guess again, Hayes Tapu Fini Cup is very good.
Yeah, that is really niche though, because you usually teams only have one Ghostmon, not
Yeah.
if even a Ghostmon at all,
Yeah,
and it's usually coverage.
yeah. I think the team's quite weak to fire as well. You've got.
I don't see that.
Not weak, but spammable. It's just spammable. You've got
Really?
two.
Like I got
to-
Gligar, I got Feeny, I got Gudra.
Well,
So
Gligar's
those
not a
are fire,
resist. Yeah, I can see the fire. Low spammable with fire. Especially physical
As I said
fire.
before about the speeders, Azelf and Taunty, it jumps 100, 115, which is fine. It doesn't allow Adamant or Modest, but Azelf and Taunty are they do literally the same thing on this team, I think. And if you say something different, like Azelf does rocks, you just got Metagross after the stealth rocks. I think that
It was more I needed an offensive deal because it was like Metagross and Bronzong were the only things left, and I'd rather have Metagross.
I think I've got two more things to say. I think Gligar is your only ground. Is it your only ground?
Yeah, that's my only ground.
That's a
I think
problem.
that.
Yeah,
hate having
when I had Gligar as my only ground in season 10, it wasn't working out at all. I had to drop it for a better ground.
Last season it was like that for my team too. My only ground was Gliscor. It was basically the same thing.
Gligar's just.
Well, Gligar's not as good as Gliscor.
Oh yeah, but
it's just.
Stem out more bolt.
Bolt, yeah, as Ben said, just bolt beam in general, and I think,
Bolt
especially
beam.
Gligar's
I can see that.
Yeah.
And then
finally,
go
I know
ahead.
you disagree, and I know you're going to say because of Tapu Fini, but I hate when a team doesn't have a grounded poison.
It's not just Tapu Fini and Umbreon as Heal Bell. I have really good Defog and Rapid Spin support. Taunty is, in my opinion, is one of the best offensive defoggers in the game. So, and like Fini's not a bad defogger.
Yeah,
Gligar's not a bad you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think the T-Spikes thing is.
On top of that, Misty terrain.
I don't think the T-Spikes thing is a super big deal.
Spikes, it's gonna get poisoned. It's capable. It doesn't have off.
Yeah, I know.
It's gonna get weakened a lot.
I was gonna say.
I do have wish support for it.
Yeah, I don't think T-Spikes is like a huge issue because he does have two like good flying defoggers in Gligar and Taunty that can switch in a defog without poisoning anything.
Yeah. But I'm still thinking you're wasting a turn for no reason. You're wasting 2 turns of actually. You have to get them on in and get defog away because stuff like Mega Medicham and Gudra, they just hate Toxic Spike.
If it was a problem, yeah. But
and you can't really rest up with Gudra because of Misty Terrain.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a slight issue. And then the only other thing is like the speed isn't great.
1 second. You said it is a slight issue for Gudra, but at the same time, Gudra usually doesn't go down without toxicking it, or else you're just gonna whittle it down like slow, and then.
Yeah, I know, but it would be so much better if it didn't have Toxic Spike because of if it had Misty Terrain without like the poison, then it would be way better. I think Z-Taunty is also the best Z mover in the game.
I love Z-Taunty. Yeah, that's
but the fact that, like, it's amazing, but it also hinders. I think it was a better decision to use Z-Taunty, but I think Xurkitry's a bit of an unknown without Z moves.
Yeah.
Not saying you should.
I can see that. It was a debate on what I was Z moving, but
you chose the right Z user. I just don't think you should have chosen.
He does. Well, he does kind of need the power on the special side though with Xurkitry, so I can see it even if it's not Z.
I really wanted something to complement Medicham on the special side, and I do have sticky web support for it.
And I think because of the speed, Xerxes is going to be scarfed a lot of the time. Yeah.
I can see that.
But yeah, I think like the problems are pretty minor. Like Umbreon's pressure because of Bolt Beam, the speed, passive walls, T spikes, but yeah, the pivots and the Medicham are just gonna make this team really, really troubling to prep for. I think. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
I get a 5.5. Like different priorities.
I
Give
can't-
it
Also, what was your web support?
Cutie fly.
Good lord.
Amazing.
Oh, good lord, on QFly.
Amazing.
Un1. That is an un1.
I know, but
But it's not even a mod.
To be
it's
fair,
a
though,
mod.
speed. It
if
is
you're-
needed for speed.
a lot of
It's
a
a
lot of
move.
sticky
It's
web
a move.
users just set up and a lot of sticky web users just set up sticky webs and die anyway though. So it's not like Cutify is like a super like
Yeah, usually
you know,
Galvantula just sets up.
yeah,
a
like
sticky
Yeah,
web.
and I think
Galvantula
your
just
team really
sets
benefits webs because you also have
Yeah.
fast taunts like Taunty to prevent
Yeah.
you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
If you had a
you can
ghost type
prevent-
to prevent spin, I think that would have been a bit better.
I
That's just
can,
me.
I can, yeah,
I
I
can
can
see a
agree.
ghost
But
type.
like
Yeah.
Ben said, some sticky webbers just set up and die anyway. So
Yeah.
I thought. It was,
QFly just death the move, not
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And- Am I gonna get a kill with Cutie Flies this season? I see
If you do, that person should forfeit.
It can
Like-
Oko Hoopa.
Oh, with you, sir.
Oko's Hoopa.
Okay. If
But
that
yeah,
person,
I think the problems I can agree with some of them. So others I don't agree with, but overall I think they're not that big of a deal.
Okay. So what's
Just
your
like
rating?
you said with the Gothitelle and stuff, it's just different opinion.
yeah.
What's your rating?
8.5 for me.
Okay. So 8.5, 8.5, and then 5.5
Yeah.
for Elliot. Okay. Moving on to JJ's team. I think we have a lot of disagreements here as well.
Yeah, there's like half the league thinks it's good, half the league thinks it's bad.
So I think it's pretty good. I really like. I think he has some really good offensive synergy with like he's got nice wall breakers with like Haxorus, Lando Y, Megazard Y, even Sneasel works really well on this team. I think, and he's got pretty good defensive synergy too with like Scar and Blissey. So I just think he's starting from like a good point there with like all like that those cores there.
So what JJ drafted was a offensive core I used to draft back in the day. Me and him were in the league together. It was Lando I to make a Charizard and a Weavile. Instead of Weavile, he has Sneasel. But combination of those, nothing switches in the game for it. I think he has the biggest potential out of anybody to break walls.
Yeah.
And it's just really scary to play against him defensively. And even if you play against him offensively, he has Sticky Web, so like common Scarfers still get outsped.
Yeah, he's got a really good
Even
web
like
user.
by his fast mons. So that's why I rate it so highly. But I can see the defensive weaknesses on his team. Like I don't understand why Magneton is there. I don't like he does have a fighting weakness. He has a Volt Switch weak team. Like I can understand that.
He's
part.
also weak on to fire, especially on the physical side.
Yeah, that too. Because and he's gonna set up the sun for them too.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
He's switching his course a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Regenerator broken.
Yeah, a little bit fire weak on the physical side, and I think you were saying Omega a little bit Bolt Beam weak, or just like electric in general.
No, just electric. Like
Yeah.
Volt Switch. Yeah.
Yeah,
Volt Switch is
easy
game.
as Volt Switch. I agree.
But it's just so hard to keep offensive pressure against him, just if he plays correctly. And he won last season, so.
Yeah.
And Starmie is, I think Starmie, even
To be
though.
fair, he hacks. To be fair.
Yeah, oh yeah. But I think Starmie. Usually people don't draft Starmie, but on this particular team, it's the fastest rapid spinner in the game, so I think it really helps out his offensive synergy. And he's got Scar and Bliss too.
Yeah. I really
Yeah.
like the offensive core now you've said it, but I don't like it's the fire weaknesses there, the fighting weaknesses there. Like I think
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
the fighting weaknesses there. And I also don't really like it's just like I think it was you with Gligar. His ground is Landorus Eye, which is even worse. It's like
Yeah,
no luck.
that's kind of bad.
And
Mm.
especially since it's like offensive, like speedy mons like Mega Charizard Y and Starmie are weak
But,
to
like-
electric. I think it's
But
just
like,
gonna
how
be
are you gonna prep for him? Like, if you want to like Scarf against them, but he has he has really fast sticky webber. I mean, it's just really hard to beat them. And then like you're not gonna wall his team. It's just gonna be
Yeah,
really hard.
I think this team's actually kind of comparable to like Peter's team, where he's got like really good offense. Except I think JJ's defense is better.
I mean, it depends.
Although
think
JJ's
JJ
got
also
more
doesn't have
switch weeks,
amazing
but, yeah.
speed. He's got 2 115s. Yeah.
I think Sneasel was so good and Starmie so good for the team that doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just that he doesn't have the best. Like even outside of that, he doesn't have good speed. Like those are his high is 115. I think, and then
Josh is making a good
124 with
point.
Rabambi.
which Josh's? Yeah, 124.
He's talking about how like obviously he gets up webs. He doesn't have any taunters to really like prevent webs, and his walls are just passive. Mons can just switch in and just defog or spin away.
Yeah,
That's
Skarmory, I believe, is only taunter. No, Sneasel is too.
I don't think they're very.
I can see
reliable
that, but
taunters,
it's just really hard to just stop and get a free turn of defogging when he can just switch in a threat.
Yeah.
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
But his team, he just needs to have, as long as he has rocks. I think he just relies on rocks getting away. Obviously, Starmie's there, but I think
Like,
Starmie
you can
there's
rapid
needs
spinner
for other
defog his
things
webs.
for like fighting types and fire types.
Yeah.
Starmie's gonna be over relied on, I think. But yeah, I like it. I think I like the comparison to Peters. I'm actually giving the city score.
And I think it's slightly better than Peters.
Yeah, I do too.
just
So yeah, I gave
It's more
this
hard hitting
team.
than Peters. It's safer than Peters because of the sticky web. So that's why.
Yeah, the
I gave it
power.
an 8.
The power is just great. I gave it an 8.5. I like it.
I might just increase it too. But I'm gonna stay as an 8.
I gave it a 7.
All right, moving on to Burns' team. Let me look at my notes. Anyone want to start?
I like it. It's my favorite offensive team.
Really?
Out of his, JJ's, and
I think it's okay.
Thingies.
Like obviously his speed is great.
Oh shit, I need some new beer.
Yeah.
His speed is like elite.
He has like blistering fast mons though, and then a big gap.
Yeah. Okay. So the
You know what I
first thing, look at his team and identify his reliable recovery.
His team's offensive though. He just
I know,
has
but
pivot.
still, it's still not ideal.
He doesn't really need it though. He's just gonna pivot into his offensive mons. He doesn't. He can't have a turn to just reliably recover when his team is so offensive. I think.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
sure if it's
guess.
as offensive as you think.
It's
He
it's speedy, but it's not necessarily super powerful. I don't know. He's got like the power
I'm not
mod on
really
Hoopa, but
that scared about Zeraora. I'm scared about Hoopa, and some teams can't deal with Lopunny. I mean, even though like you should have like 2 or 3 Pokemon that deal with Lopunny.
Megalopunny is the third best Mega.
I do like the fact that Klefki can make him play a more offensive style like that.
And Duxie.
Yeah, Yuxi's good.
Yeah, I don't know if it's as offensive as you think, Elliot. Just because
It's pretty offensive.
I think
he doesn't have a lot of wall breakers. He only has Hoopa. I mean,
Super and Brown literally brings any walls there.
But Wap is still like
nothing.
pretty
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
strong.
Yeah.
And you get Serp, and then it's like which can wall break technically, and when you just pair that with the cleaning ability that I have, that can just tear things apart. Like
You have good cleaning, yeah.
yeah.
I really like Mudsdale on this team. I think it fits a really big hole, and I think you're gonna bring it more than you think you are.
Yeah.
Mudsdale's really good.
I know
also
you don't have like reliable recovery a lot, but it's not really about defense. It's more about supporting my offense or
Supporting
like
the
I mean, yeah, I can see that.
Klefki with screens and hazard stack. Like it's not so much about like Kunith Roar. It's not really about walling. It's more about just support.
I can see what you're talking about. And Klefki is really good at supporting offense.
He is so
Some
Klefki and
spikes.
Lop. It's what I think Brett said it the other day. But Klefki literally supports Lop so well with T-Wave spikes.
Screens.
Is really good.
Another thing. So you know how we had that team before that was the freest Volt Switch ever? This is the freest U-turn ever. I mean,
Yeah, it's weak to
Yeah,
U-turn.
U-turn for
It's a-
sure.
it's a
definitely,
possibility.
definitely.
You're right.
But
Freest U-turn ever.
Yeah, and then he's also got a slight knockoff weakness. Yeah.
but at least have Mudsdale, which can at least take
Yeah,
advantage of
Mudsdale gets.
I
a
guess,
stamina
but
base.
you're also
That's why
removing its
Mudsdale's
only
so good on
recovery
your
and
team.
leftovers. Like Mudsdale
Yeah.
really needs leftovers, so
Megalop.
it's not that great either. I mean, Megalop sure, but not before it Mega Evolves.
I mean, it does
You
it
should
just as well as
get a turn
Galley.
one,
Yeah, and
Uh,
also not only do his walls not have. I guess they're not really
can-
walls, but they also are pretty passive. His defense.
I can see him suffering a little bit to opposing Trick Room because
Uh,
of how blistering fast all of his mons
yeah.
are.
Although these mons could take advantage of Trick Room like
You
Hoopa.
do,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you see it coming, you can. But like if you run min speed Hooper or something, but
Or
even
even like
though
the
it's
store.
space 80,
While they're
yeah, it's
stalling
space
out Trick Room zones.
yeah, but your mons will become really slow after that, unless you have Klefki to
But
support it
I
with
do have good
screens.
Trick Room support, like Dust Noir, Yuxi, which are all good for Hoopa, so that's something.
Yeah, you could do it yourself if you wanted, but
The team's
opposing,
really weak
if you don't see it
to,
coming.
I think it's weak to ice and fire as well.
Yeah, bar Kun it is, but Kun it should be decent enough to handle that. I think.
Uxi's proven to be pretty reliable.
Yeah,
And,
but look how spammable it is.
Yeah, you
it's
can
just
spam it.
weak.
Yeah, especially
It's just
electric. Electric's pretty spammable.
I'd Zero Aura though.
I
so
don't think
it's-
electric is. I think fire and ice. Like
I don't know about electric. I think ice and fire more. Not
I'd
electric.
Zero Aura.
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
read,
and
like,
flying. Flying.
flying.
He's got a flying weakness too.
I mean,
I
kind
can
of,
see
but
that.
Klefki Zero Aura I think is fine.
there's
Like, it's
many
not great.
so little flying resist. Like it's literally just steel
I
electric.
can definitely see the
That's
flying
every
weakness.
aura in Klefki.
Yeah, flying, U-turn. He could have better removal too.
Like, what's the switch into banded star up to?
Like Klefki?
Not about anything.
Mudsdale kind
Don't
of.
think
It depends on
Galleon
the rules.
are up to this.
Yuxi and
That's
Kun
literally
take those
farmer
hits,
flying.
honestly. Like, there's def Yuxi and Kun can hit those
I
hits.
believe it gets 2 code after rocks, but don't quote me on that.
And it's more about offense and defense.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. It is offensive.
Like, if he's band
Yeah,
strapped, I
I
can
prefer
really,
JJ's now. Sorry.
if I'm playing band strapped, I can just go into Zero Aura and just click free Plasma Fists. Like,
It's
I
not
think I
like
prefer
it's not
JJ's
as
now.
threatening as JJ's offense, but it's like threatens with speed more and setup.
I think he supports his offense just as well. I just don't think his offense is. I don't know. I think I rate Lop so much though, so I guess it's just some difference in opinion.
Okay.
But he could have. I mean, if you have Lop though, you'd rather have like Rapid Spin and just. I don't think his removal is that great. Like he's got Klefki, which is good, but then like you don't really want to run Defog on
He's
Superior.
got really good offensive defog as a Klefkin superior.
I do like the
best.
knockoff support with Lopunny. It's pretty good.
Yeah, he's got 1, 2.
I mean,
Yeah, he's got with.
yeah, but Mega
think that's
Lopunny's
a-
not always. I mean, knockoff's like an early game move, and Mega Lopunny isn't always mega good. Especially if he's like leading with like Zero Aura or like I don't know, like Yuxi, you know, like he has good lead options that aren't Mega Lopunny, so I'm not sure Mega Lopunny's gonna be mega good to take knockoffs. Even
And
then, you don't
also,
really want to switch it into knockoffs.
I only see him scarfing Hoopa sometimes, and that's really his only good scarfer that I see him. bringing.
Superior maybe.
Not
I
even.
have great Scarfers, but I
Like,
can like the speed I have is still like so much that it's
Yeah,
just,
I don't think he even
It-
needs Scarfers.
It's huge, but opposing scarfers can take advantage
that's
of that.
true.
Yeah.
But I still think it's a good team.
I don't know. I just don't really like the defense. Like it's more support. Like if you're saying that his defense is more support and it's an offensive team, then I don't really like the ball breakers he has. And then if you're saying it's like more of like a bulky offense team, then he doesn't have reliable recovery, and like he has some weaknesses like flying and knockoff, and then also the big U-turn weakness. So I gave it a
think
7.5.
Hoopa is like going to be the biggest factor for me because if I can like actually use Hoopa well as a breaker, like this team can really just like.
Yeah, it
Hoopa
depends on how
plus
well you
Mega
use
Mop,
Hoopa.
Like Hoopa may go up together. If I use that well, it can be like really, really good.
The U-turn weakness is gonna suck though for Hoopa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll figure out how to play around that.
I'm lowering
I'll,
it to a 6.5.
I gave it.
6.5.
What'd
Yeah,
you give
I
it?
lowered it.
I gave it 7.5.
I'll give it a 7.5. I'll lower it too. I used to have 8.
Lowering it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think on these we
Just because of what Ben said, it's like half of one thing and half of the other thing. Just depends on how you play it.
I
But
mean,
it's still good.
I don't know. I think on these draft podcasts, like we talk about like all the disadvantages, which is fine, but then it's like hard to justify our rankings because I do think like almost all the teams are good. I think besides like Ruppy's team and maybe Junior's team, like all these teams are really solid.
I hate
for the
Clyde.
most
I
part.
think it's fun too.
I can understand you hating Clyde's because it's like it looks ugly to me on paper too. But
It's just why I just think I think the knockoff weakness. I don't
Yeah.
know. I know you guys don't think it's a massive knockoff weakness, but I think like a
Um,
low.
no, I
level-
agree with you because Ben said it wasn't. I agree with you.
I think special fires. Yeah, but anyway.
Okay,
Yeah.
last draft we got Jeff's draft. I don't know. Jeff's draft is like I kind of see one good Pokemon in Kieran Black, and then the rest is kind of just like meh.
Yeah.
You
yeah, I
know,
agree.
like
There's a lot of Mamons on this team.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of Memons. Poor speed, like
Yeah, go ahead.
like Crobat's fine, but it's not really an offensive Pokemon. And then besides that, huh?
His speed's the same as yours.
Well, yeah, but Crobat isn't like if you have good speed, you want it to be offensive, right?
I guess that's fair enough.
And then like
Yeah.
Crobat's more support mon, yeah.
and then like Raichu isn't like a great like Raichu's his next fastest thing after Crobat, which
I think
sucks.
Raichu's a good Pokemon.
It's okay.
I mean, it's fine to bring, but it's kind of like how Junior relies a lot on Ambipom, like as his only fast mon. Like Jeff doesn't. Jeff is even worse. Like Jeff doesn't have any like fast offense besides like Raichu, which you're not going to be bringing most weeks at all. So yeah, I just think teams are going to be able to outspeed him really easily.
I think a huge problem is the fact that he chose Kieran Black first, which is fine, but he didn't really choose like his next 2 Pokemon don't really like
Manaphy is
help
a
Kieran
terrible
Black
pick.
at all.
Manaphy was a terrible pick.
Yeah.
I think Manaphy doesn't fit on his team at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Crobat is okay, but like all of his other mons don't help cure him that much.
Yeah, he doesn't have any good removal. Like he has Crobat, which I guess is alright, but again, if Crobat's your only fast thing, you're gonna be wanting to
That's
run it
it.
offensive. And like literally,
that's it.
Crobat is it, and you have a Kieran Black. You need better removal than that.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's a big problem.
And like and I mean Kyurem is a powerhouse, of course, but really it only has like 3 moves that are like coverage moves. You really want to support like the rest of the stuff that for Kyurem, but he just doesn't. He just has a Manaphy, he just has a like some Gardevoir, Miltank, Blaziken. They don't really help Kyurem that much.
I think Blaziken does. I think that's underselling it a little bit. I think Blaziken steals it.
It can, but it is a Blaziken. Like if it was an Emboar, maybe it would have been better.
Blaziken is really hard. Like really hard.
He's not gonna bring it every week though.
True.
Also, Manaphy is his only Scald switching. I think he
still
really
needs more defog or
yeah,
rapid spin.
defog, and then yeah, I think he really struggles with Scald. Manaphy's his only Scald switching.
Goldghost.
Well, I guess, but even that, you don't really want it to be burned.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I like Mega Aggron.
Mega Aggron
Mega
is a Scald switching?
But
What if it gets
that's
burned?
the only mon that's below.
And
6
also,
that I
it
really
can't
like.
switch into Scalds before it Megas. Not at all.
And then like Zoroark, sure it can disguise itself as Kyurem or like Nidoqueen, and it seems cool because oh man, I'm disguising as a wall breaker, but the check for Kyurem is the check for. It's not like gonna surprise anybody to be disguised by Kyurem. Kyurem has no switch-in anyway. Or barely has switch-ins. So it's just like a niche thing that doesn't really fit his team that well.
Yeah, and another thing with Kyurem's a great, a big threat, especially on the physical side. he doesn't really have like a special wall breaker. I think Nidoqueen's going to be used more than often defensively.
I think God of War's a special wall breaker.
It's definitely not a wall breaker.
No, it's not. It's not like a wall breaker.
No, I think it
I,
is.
gue- I guess a little bit. I mean, okay,
Specs God hits like a truck.
yeah. His pivots could also be better, like pivots into Kieran Black. You really want to have some good pivots.
Yeah, it's
Is
just
Yeah.
like
Just
great
That's what I'm
Crobat.
saying. That goes back to the not supporting Kieran Black.
Yeah,
enough
exactly.
sort
Yeah,
of thing.
I mean, I agree. I just think he's
Pivot
got
and
Kieran Black
defog
and
is
then
just, like, all
just
of-
a
yeah.
random assortment of 10 other mons that don't support it. And that's really the story with this team or with this draft.
I think Manaphy was just a terrible pick. It's high points, doesn't support Kieran Black, and this is round 2 pick.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have done it.
I can see where he was going, but it isn't good enough. Like, especially for the other teams, you're gonna have to face. I'm not sure what Miltank is doing. I'm not like, and Nidoqueen is pretty much going to be defensive on this team. I just see he can bring it offensively. gonna
Yeah,
have trouble.
especially because he does have a slight electric weakness too, so he's gonna need Nidoqueen to switch into that.
Really? Nidoqueen is literally one of the best.
Yeah,
electric
well that's
types.
what I'm saying. I'm just saying
period.
he's gonna need to run it defensive.
Not really defensive. Nidoqueen takes like HP ices, stuff like that.
Nidoqueen is a unique mon that kind of doesn't need to be, but on this team it needs to support Kieran Black with toxic
Yeah.
spikes and stuff like that.
I don't think that means it has
Just
to be
not gonna-
defensive every weaker.
And then and then the hazard war, he's just gonna lose the hazard war. Mega Aggron doesn't like switching into spikes all the time, even though like it's super bulky. You don't want it to take that much passive damage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd
I
be a
mean,
lot
and
better
he's
with
got Nidoqueen, which is a great T-Spiker, but only defog again, so... Yeah, he really, really needs a rapid sprinter, like a good rapid sprinter. He needs better pivots, he needs some speed. I really don't think there's a
And he
lot of
needs to drop
positives
Manaphy,
with this
I think.
draft.
Yep. Drop Manaphy.
I think he just drops Manaphy after this.
Yeah, I can
It
agree.
doesn't fit.
Yeah, like I was saying, speed, hazards. I gave it a 4.5 out of 10.
Yikes.
That's a
I
little...
really don't see a lot of good things about this draft.
What'd you give it, Elliot?
I gave it a 6.
I gave it a 5.5.
Damn, that's weird. I give it the best one I normally would.
Yeah, that's how I felt about JJ's. I talked so much about it, but then you guys like rated it half a point higher. That was weird.
Half one here. What?
All right. I guess we can go over. I don't know if we should go
Rankings?
over our individual rankings.
Do you want to do some pick like bold predictions after as well?
Well, I
Yeah,
don't.
you
I don't
can
have
do
any
that.
bold predictions.
We can have bold predictions like who has the most kills, the
Yeah,
most whatever,
do that
like
after.
stuff like that.
Yeah. What do you want to do now?
Maybe I'll just read off the. So we have our points for all of the drafts. We also Burn made points for all the drafts. I'll just read off the rankings
Yeah, what's the
in
average
terms
for
of the
everybody's?
average. Yeah.
So this is
So-
to clarify all 4 of our draft analysis
Yeah,
put together.
including Burn. Okay, so Ruppy's at number 16 with an average of 4.
Oh,
I know.
Oh,
And then Jeff
think it was
is
that bad.
15 at a 5.5. And then we get into 2 6-point drafts. Clyde at 6.125, and then Junior at 6.375. That's number 14 and 13. And we have a big cluster. We have a lot of drafts averaging 7 points, starting with Franny at 7. Franny with 7 points. He's ranked 12. JJ has a 7.125. And then the number 10 draft.
JJ's a lot lower than I thought.
I know. Number 10 draft is Omega at 7.25. Winston is number 9 at 7.5. Elliot also at 7.5. Burn also at 7.5. And then we have Peter at number 6 overall at a 7.625.
I lowered some of my scores as well and hide some of mine.
And
so
then we
yeah.
have.
I think JJ should be a little higher too.
I definitely agree. Oh
Is
yeah,
he
so we
higher?
have adjusted our points. I
Yeah.
agree. JJ should
Clyde
be higher.
should be lower too.
I think Clyde's lower, Burns lower.
Well, Clyde's already
Yeah.
the third from the bottom.
Oh,
JJ's
okay.
probably like 1 place higher.
Okay, and then the top 5, these are all 8 or above. At number 5, we have me at 8. 4, we have Mike at 8.125. Josh is at 8.375. We actually have a 3-way tie for first, second, third. Josh, Jackin, and Noob all at 3.75.
I think those are
8.375.
clearly the top 3 teams in my
I
opinion.
disagree with that so much.
I would
fuck.
agree that Noob and Jackin are probably the top 2. I
Yeah.
don't think Josh has a top team.
I don't think Noob has a top team. I think it's
all-
good. I think
all
it's
three is
top
top.
8. I think it's top 8. That's as far as it goes to me. I think it's even top 5.
There's some differences between ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh would also be a bit lower since I loaded his score. It'd probably be.
Oh
It'd
yeah.
probably be Jackin and Josh joint. Jackin and Noob joint first.
Do you want to talk about bold predictions?
Yeah, sure. I'll unmute everyone now. So do you want to end the recording?
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. We'll definitely do a Draft Miners podcast. Maybe later in the week. So look for that as well.